Good morning. The music you just heard is your invitation to settle in and prepare for our worship service. Please put your phones and devices in airplane mode for the duration of the service. I'm using my phone, but it's in airplane mode. Okay. Our reading today is number 436 of the Gray Hymnal, and is by David C. Pohl of our UUA. We come to this time and place to rediscover our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind, full heart, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all of her people one. Good morning, and welcome to San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or watching virtually, we are glad to have you with us. My name is Chuck Collins. My pronouns are he and him, and I am honored to serve as your lay leader this morning and as a member of our social justice team. Social justice, in my definition, can be defined as just loving people, all people. San Gabriel is a member congregation of the larger group, the Unitarian Universalist Association. Here at this church, we recognize that we reside on the land of the Tonkawa. Please know that we are a movement working for a just, peaceful, and sustainable world. Sustaining each other here in community is one part of that work. Let us take a minute now to hear the words and music as commissioned by the UUA for a new program, a climate justice revival. This song is titled Part of It, and remind us of how we are part of something bigger.
There's an eternal sacred circle. We are part of it. There's an eternal sacred circle. We are part of it. We are only part of it. There's a divine and loving wisdom. We're a spark. We're a spark of it. There's a divine and loving wisdom. We're a spark of it. But we are only part of it. We are a part. We are part of it. We are a spark. We're a spark of it. We are a part. We are part of it. We are a spark. We're a spark of it. Here as one voice we choose survival, and we start to make an art of it. Now is our moment for revival. We're at the heart of it, and we are only part of it. We are only part of it.
Good morning. I'm Lou Sneed, and my pronouns are he and him, and I'm also a part of the social justice team here. And as you can tell already, the emphasis today that we're talking about in this service is around climate change and climate justice. And we are recognizing that this is a issue that many of you share, but there are people all around us who do not think that climate change is a serious issue. In fact, we have a new administration in our government who says climate change and a lot of those concerns are just fake issues. So how are we supposed to address these issues as Unitarian Universalists in a world where there's great division around this particular issue? This morning we're going to try to engage us in thinking about those particular issues for you, as for all of us. Our chalice lighting today says, we light this chalice recognizing that we are living in a time when life on this planet is becoming more fragile and more precarious due to human consumption of natural resources. The economic and political interconnectedness of life in a global community calls us to face the challenges of living on the basis of justice for all of humanity and to take responsibility for the care of the earth. So we're gathered here in the spirit of love to invest in the goodness of the human living in relationship to our planet. Let us remember that just a small seed can grow into a giant sequoia tree, that our small acts of care and our faith and values can be seeds of change, building something bigger, a beloved community. As we light this candle this day, may we remember our commitment to this calling. We're going to sing a hymn. It's 3:30 in the gray hymnal. The words will be projected, and the title is Arching Sky of Morning Glows. Let's stand if we can and sing this. We're singing all three verses.
They're going to play the one verse through so you can get familiar with the tune, okay?
Good morning.
Welcome to the third week of our Joy Treasure Hunt. If any of the youth would like to join us on stage to open the Wonder Box, you may. This month in RE has been all about finding joy. So let's see what the Wonder Box has for us today. It's a glass and some water. I wonder what a cup of water has to do with finding joy. Any ideas? What do you think? I wonder how many of you think this cup is half full, or how many of you think it's half empty? Half full? You think half full? Well, guess what? Both are correct. It's just a matter of what you see. Today we are exploring finding joy in hard things. When things are hard, it is easy to see only the negative and say, oh, this cup is half empty. But if we direct our gaze from the empty part, the part of hard things, the hard part of things, and focus on the half full part, we can see the joy and fullness. And we might say, oh, awesome, this cup is half full. It's a reminder of how even when things are hard, if we are able to find and keep the possibility of joy in our sights, it shifts things from being a time of emptiness to a time of joy. And now I'd like to share with you a special tale. It's called The Story the Phoenix Told. Once upon a time, long, long ago in a faraway land, there lived a magnificent phoenix. Her feathers glowed with the colors of the sun, beautiful shades of gold, crimson, and orange. Her feathers were so beautiful that the human beings of the land thought she carried pieces of the sunrise on her wings. But she was not only known for her beauty, but for her wisdom as well. And it was her wisdom that the people of the land turned to one dreadful year. You see, that was the year a great storm swept through the land, leaving destruction in its wake. Full of despair, the people went to the phoenix, seeking her guidance. Great phoenix, they asked, whatever shall we do? How can we find hope when everything feels lost? The phoenix responded by telling them a story. This is the story of how I came to be, the phoenix said. Long ago, in my very first life, I lived in a land of eternal spring. The days were gentle and the nights calm. My feathers were colorful, but not as colorful as they are now, and my strength impressive, but not as mighty as it is now. One day, the land was struck by a great fire. Flames consumed everything in their path, including the tree that held my nest. I fought to escape, but the fire was relentless. It consumed me, and in the blaze, I felt the searing pain and turned to ash. Yet as the fire burned, something extraordinary happened. What I thought was my last breath actually filled my lungs with a new strength. And with that newly discovered inner strength, from the ashes, I began to stir. Slowly I emerged, reborn, and as I looked at my feathers, I saw that the fire had not destroyed them, but made their color more vibrant than before. And over the years, this has happened over and over again, with the pain of the fire not destroying me, but leaving me stronger and more beautiful than before. And so, friends, said the phoenix, I ask you this. As you look around at your own destruction, are you sure that rubble is all you see? And with the phoenix's story and the question filling their mind, they looked again at the destruction and rumble around them. And just as the phoenix had discovered new strength in her ashes, the people noticed a new type of power arising among them as they found strength in sharing their burdens and working together. And just as the phoenix had watched the fire make her feathers even more beautiful, the people slowly noticed a new and more beautiful type of love rising between them as they realized they didn't need to heal and recover all on their own. The people indeed were stronger and more beautiful and even more joyful than before. I love the way the story reminds us that when times are hard and we feel helpless, we can find strength and beauty inside us, and it comes from that. Or to put it another way, if we look hard enough, we can find joy in the midst of difficult times. So let's hold on to this story as we move to the little house, and we can explore it more there, okay?
Each Sunday we gather here, we try to also attend to whatever joys or sorrows are in our hearts and minds at this time. This is a moment in the service when we kind of gather those things. So if you're carrying something in your heart or your mind today that prevents you from being fully present, or that you have as a particular joy or sorrow to share, we invite you to do that at this time. It's a way of practicing openness and vulnerability, and attending to both the gladness and the praise that we have with us for the blessings of life, and also to attend to the hurts, the suffering, and the needs that are around us. So this is your time. Chuck's ready to bring you a microphone if you have something to share. You've heard those expressions. I suspect that all of us have something else in our hearts and minds that are expressions of gladness and thanksgivings and blessings, as well as concerns and grief and sorrows and worries. I'm very aware that many of us are anxious about what's going on in our nation today, and what feels like the destruction of important institutions all around us. And so today we're looking for some light in the midst of darkness. This is called in the Christian community a day of resurrection. The Earth Movement says this is the time when nature is reborn with new birth. And this is the time for us who come here in the spirit of love and peace to look for the light that's in the darkness, and that we can be a part of that light. So that's the prayer we make this day. Thank you for what you shared this morning. We're fortunate today that we have an anthem, and Judy is, oh, there she is. She disappeared. So we're going to hear Homeward Bound by Judy and Joe, and then there'll be an introduction to our program today.
you very much. I feel homebound. Alrighty, we're going to do something a little different today. We're not going to have a sermon. I want you to imagine that maybe you're at a TV show and you're the audience today, okay? So I invite our guest panelists to get ready, and they're going to present a point-counterpoint perspectives on climate change and climate justice. Now, it's important that you, the audience, pay close attention. Why? Because you're going to participate in the end. We're going to ask you what you thought of some of their perspectives. And how do you think that our nation might address global change, climate justice in a collaborative and consensus manner? That's a big question. All right, here we go. I want to thank those tuning in today to our ecological presentation for Earth Day and climate justice. Today we will be listening to a conversation between two people who hold very different viewpoints about the urgency of addressing global warming and disruptive climate activity. Now, one perspective that you will hear will be presented by an environmental activist. That would be Mr. Larry Worrywart. And the other perspective will be presented by a conservative economist with Chevron. So you're invited to hear their summarized perspectives. And the topic is this: how seriously should we take all the media coverage being expressed by climate change? So, Mr. Chevron, we will begin with you. Give us your brief conclusions about the question we are addressing here today.
Oh, we need a mic.
Thank you for this invitation. When it comes to the hysteria that's been created over the last 25 or 30 years about this pending climate disaster, I'm reminded of the words of the 19th century circus promoter P.T. Barnum, who said, "There's a sucker born every minute in the world." Conservatives like me believe that all this doom and gloom predictions about a coming climate disaster or crisis is an exaggerated and intensified issue that has little basis in reality. I think we should start with the premise about this issue called global warming. And that is simply that hot summers do not equate to necessary coming climate crises. In fact, part of this liberal thing has been promoted by the United Nations International Panel on Climate Change, and I read to you the 6th United Nations International Panel on Climate Change stated, quote, "The attribution of certain causes of extreme weather, like tornadoes and hurricanes, is beyond scientific modeling and theoretical capabilities," end quote. Actual temperature changes that have been recorded over the past 50 years are actually weaker than what these climate change scientists were saying years ago. They're not right. And, moreover, you can attribute global warming to a lot of different factors. Volcano eruptions, solar sun flares, the actual production of food, clearing land, deforestation, and even farting cows put out more methane than oil fields do. So, besides these fluctuations in Earth temperatures, many scientists say that we're actually moving into the next 1,000 years a new ice age. So, you read Professor Stephen Cohen, he's a physicist at New York University, who's written the best-selling book Unsettled. He shows how science about disruptive climate change is not broadly shared as many environmentalists, alarmists want us to believe. Secondly, carbon emissions have been falling in here in the United States while they're going up in places like China, India, South America, Africa, and so what we're trying to do is just a drop in the bucket. Why should we take the burden on of protecting the environment by reducing our emissions and paralyzing our economy when the rest of the world doesn't seem to be as concerned? Why put it on our back? And we believe that public policies should be based on balancing the growing demand for energy, and that's all this knows is a growing demand for energy, with proven economic capabilities. The EPA, we believe, has been imposing unfounded and unnecessary restrictions on fossil fuel production and on automobiles that only drive up the cost of energy, and that we know we need today. And besides, we are living in a competitive global community for all of these demands, and I would submit that our national security and energy independence is vital because airplanes and ships and our military on renewable energy. And you got people like Bill McGibbon and other environmentalist extremists who want us to believe that the only hope for our planet's future and well-being is for humanity to keep the coal and the oil and the natural gas in the ground. That's simply, in my view, naive economic foolishness. Lastly, all this buzz about electric vehicles. That's fine for old people who don't have very far to go and don't need to go anywhere anyway. But it's not practical for working people who have to go to work, and have to drive around trying to find some place to charge this car up, and they're too expensive. And look at the other side of that. We already see problems with batteries. The big hope that I hear in the renewable energy community is batteries are going to be the way that we deal with all of this problem of sun not shining in the day for a solar farm, or the wind not blowing at times for the wind farm to produce this energy. They say, oh, we're going to develop batteries, and batteries are going to store the energy when we get it when we need it. Well, you know the problems we're already having with lithium batteries catching on fire and burning up? What are we going to do to manage huge batteries we're going to need for commercial industries? How are we going to dispose of those things and the risks and dangers that go with all of that? So can you imagine those environmental disasters just waiting if we have to dispose of all of those things? Energy produced by natural gas plants is the most dependable and the cheapest forms of energy that we have today, and it's clean. Why should we turn away from these sources of proven and reliable energy because of some scare tactics based on speculations about too much carbon in the atmosphere?
So much for brief, huh? Why, thank you, Mr. Chevron, for sharing that bountiful perspective. May we turn on to Mr. Worrisome. Sir, would you be willing to share us your perspective?
Yes, thank you. Some of us may remember the growing concerns about global warming that were expressed about 25 years ago as inconvenient truths. Since then, we've heard arguments about the lack of scientific consensus on climate change and protectionist efforts by the heavily monetized fossil fuel industry to impede the value and benefits of renewable energy sources. Meanwhile, the evidence about global warming keeps piling up. It disturbs me to see pictures of the polar ice caps beginning to melt, glaciers disappearing, sea levels rising. I considered moving into the Houston area a few years ago, and I told my wife that at that time we need to have a house of at least 10 feet above sea level because all of Houston's going to be inundated by the sea eventually. Even when it's clear that fossil fuels are limited energy sources long term and the cost of renewables are coming down rapidly, in many respects we're going through another energy transition similar to what our nation moving away from whale oil to kerosene in the 19th century, and from kerosene to gasoline and diesel in the 20th century. And so while 97% of the world's climate scientists are pointing to the serious effects of global warming, there are still a few vocal climate change deniers who dismiss the growing body of evidence about a pending global crisis in the next few decades in a world that is addicted to fossil fuels without any resolve to break this addiction. However, rather than argue about the science or lack of scientific evidence regarding global warming, or the fact that we're already capable of being energy independent in terms of reliance on fossil fuels, let's look at the economics of what has been going on in climate disruptions and disasters. We don't have to argue on the extent to which human activity in the burning of carbon fuels is accelerating global warming or not. Let's just look at the economic impact that climate-induced disasters like more devastating hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes, flooding are having on our nation and in our world. Property insurance claims and costs have increased dramatically over the past decade alone from climate change-related disasters, such as extreme weather events that cause significant economic damage, including infrastructure damage, property losses, and disruptions to businesses. Global warming has negatively impacted agricultural production through changes in temperatures, rainfall patterns, water availability, and increased frequency of extreme weather events leading to crop failures, livestock losses, and food price increases. Droughts, fires, related pollution from fossil fuel burning has been shown to exacerbate existing health problems and create new ones such as heat stroke, respiratory diseases, vector-borne diseases, leading to increased healthcare costs and reduced productivity. Economic studies suggest that climate disruptions and disasters lead to substantial gross domestic product losses, with some projections estimating potential reductions of 15% or more, and more negatively impacting the poorest and the most vulnerable communities and regions of our world. Unlike the debates about the rate of adverse climate change or relying on technology to mitigate negative impacts of global warming, there is scientific consensus about the relationship between climate change and trends in extreme weather events. Practically speaking, the costs that accompany weather disasters will impact all of us, from dealing with droughts and floods and decreased productivity, and for businesses suffering the losses of weather-related disruptions. So ignoring global warming problems and issues will continue to have adverse effects economically on both our nation and on the larger global community. I believe it makes sense to invest in mitigating these climate disruptions rather than claiming that energy resources are the only real issue in the climate change debate.
Thank you, Mr. Royson, for sharing your perspective. I should have known when you asked two former ministers. It's never going to be great. So it's your turn. What did you hear them saying? What did you hear the differences are between the two perspectives? What do you think we can do to address it, to get our nation to come together and talk about a collaborative consensus way? What did you hear about economics? Is there a common between both perspectives? So it's your turn to speak.
First of all, I was waiting for one of you to do Dan Aykroyd. Jane? But it didn't happen. As one who has been hiking to the glaciers in Alaska and Patagonia and been to Antarctica, and I know the communities around those areas are working very hard to try to mitigate the disaster. But I've seen the markers that are in the ground that show where the glaciers were in 1900, 1930, and they're receding. So I'm with Mr. Morrison. Team Morrison!
What do you think? How are we going to get that? How are we going to get our nation to address that when we have such two different ideas?
Again, we got to make it nonpartisan. That's what I'm seeing in the other countries, is that it's nonpartisan. I don't know if you've been to the Alps, but it is a disaster looking at where the ice was and where it's not now. But they're working together across the aisle, and that's what we need to do. It needs to not be so political. Everything is political nowadays.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Somebody else, Judy?
So I'm in an industry that is adding a huge footprint to this. I provide materials that build data centers. And we're all contributing because we're all using our cell phones and we're all using social media. We're using it all, right? And so what I think about when I'm listening to this, I think, okay, how can I, being a leader in my industry, be a part of the change? And I'm thinking like sustainable practices and using renewable energies to build such things and getting involved in boards that encourage that industry to look into it more. And I do, it's there, it's available, and it is bipartisan. And so I'm challenging myself to get more involved in those committees.
Somebody else? Thoughts on their different perspectives? What are your thoughts about the economics of this? Yeah, we got somebody back here.
We've all kind of hit the same idea here in that everyone is so focused on what the other person's doing, and it honestly sounds like when I'm dealing with my children. Like, you need to be responsible for you. If your sister does something wrong, it doesn't make you're wrong right all of a sudden. You need to do that, or you're trying to control her, but you're not hearing what she's saying, or respecting where she's at, or her struggle to get where she needs to be. You're just trying to control her or force her to get where you need her to be. And like the bipartisan thing, and I think this holds true for all of our politics. Like, why are we worried about who the Democrat or the Republican is instead of what their actions were, where their trust is, their loyalty, their word, what does that mean, those values? We all get a value with their party and who their group with at the moment. And those things change all the time. And one of there's a Texas thing he was a sheriff, I said, yeah, that's what Paul had it. And he had put parties repeatedly through his time as sheriff, and his statement was, it's not about what party. I go with what party I need to for my community. He didn't care. And so for a lot of people that was a negative, and I could be a negative, but I've gone through and seen like, why is he putting his party? What is his stance on this? And he didn't give a crap about the party at all. His statement was, I'm here for my community. And he was always there. That's what his actions showed, and that's what his community support showed. And so the bipartisanness and being responsible for ourselves, I think is really the action, so that we can listen and we can worry about what we're doing instead of getting involved in what everyone else is, and you can see your own self and where you are, what good you have done, because you're so focused on what is going on with all these other businesses. It really reminds me of them.
Thank you very much. Lou, oh, here you go, Pat.
So you asked about the economic impact, and one of the economic impacts that's going to start hitting people all across this country in their pocketbooks is their homeowners insurance. I have friends in California who are pretty sure that their insurance is not going to be renewed, and they'll be real lucky if they actually still have insurance that just costs through the roof, if they can afford it. I think we're going to see the same thing in North Carolina after the hurricane damage. Insurers are starting to pull out of Texas. You know, it's going to be hitting people across all different swaths of the country where there's these disasters that are coming more and more frequently than they used to. The scientists that I read point to changes in our climate, whether it's man-made or not. I'm not sure anybody can 100% define. But I've lived oil field adjacent almost my entire life, and it's a really ugly, dirty business. You know, I have, however, benefited from it, so it's a two-edged sword.
Thank you. Laura?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I did agree with one thing Mr. Chevron said. He said that it's not all oil, that some of climate was due to the methane production by cattle and deforestation, and I think that's true. Cattle is just a huge polluter, and not only that, is they use a bunch more land. We could feed people so much more efficiently if we thought of different crops to use other than cattle. So I think even though that's not oil industry's fault, it's still man-made climate change.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody for sharing. So the conversation, it's a hard one. Who else? Judy. This will be our last one.
So two comments. One is how I wish Al Gore had won the presidential election. I think our country's education regarding issues would be totally different. I think, and I don't know how many of you read this. The book was a beautiful example of the increase in carbon over geological time with events in the climate and the changes in the clouds and the ozone level. And if you weren't convinced by that, you just didn't read the book. Yeah. And secondly, a personal thing, we were camping on the Fort Aransas area, and there's the University of Texas has a Marine Science Institute there, and Sid and I volunteered there to do research. But there was also every Thursday night a public lecture, and about every other one was about hurricanes. And the theme, the drumbeat was, it's not if, it's when. More and more hurricanes are going to hit the coast of Texas, and because of that, we moved to Sun City.
Thank you for not bringing the hurricanes here.
One comment about Al Gore, I don't like the way he politicized it. He really did. He kept pointing out the previous administration, and I think that was part of the downfall.
Okay, John, one last one. You okay, Lou?
Last word.
Well, the question is, how do we stop politicizing this?
That's right.
And that is going to be very difficult. It's become more and more politicized. And when all this information about the environment started coming out in the 70s, at least there were people on both sides that recognizing what the human race is doing to the and also the spirit, another issue maybe you may deal with, how people define their relationship to the earth.
And I think we'll wrap this up for us. economy. It's the cost that we are starting to see with insurance claims and high rises of prices, right, et cetera, with these disasters. And our thinking is that that's where the common ground might come, because everybody's going to feel the expense, the cost of it.
Well, first of all, it was an awkward but I've been in these conversations for 20 years now with naysayers, and so what you heard me echoing is what I heard, including the comment about P.T. Barnum. So the issue, and several of you touched on that, how do you move it away from being a partisan issue and start having conversations with other people who do not necessarily share our orientation or our ideology or our facts when they have alternative facts? How do you find common ground? How do you look for opportunities to identify what they're concerned about is related to climate change or environmental concerns? And as some of you pointed out, and we tried to touch on, economics seems to be the common ground area. Everybody seems to be aware that if some of these issues aren't addressed, everybody's going to feel the economic pinch and problems. So we are working with our Sun City Democrats, and I'm on the program committee, and we've invited the Texas State Insurance Council Consumer Advocate Department to come out to our Sun City Democrats in July, and we intentionally picked the hottest one, and to share with us the economic impact of the state insurance commission already recognizes that these climate disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires in particular, are having, and as we've experienced that here with our own insurance company recently. We've had our policy with our property insurance for this church for the past decade with a church mutual. It's the biggest church insurer in the nation. And they recently said to us, do not let your policy lapse. We are no longer writing insurance for churches in Texas. It's too much. That's probably where the common ground we can find. Because they're going to experience the same thing. So we need to argue the science of climate change, but look for opportunities for us to have conversations around shared concerns, and I believe it's around the economy. So thank you for your participation.
All right, the fire's out. I realize it's 4:20, but I swear to you that I have not started celebrating yet. That was just a mistake.
We're taking an offering.
Okay. So we take an offering each week to sustain the spiritual home and support the work of our fellowship. If you are visiting, we invite you to fill out a visitor's card. You'll find those in the seats in front of you, which you can put into the plate, or you can return it to the visitor station in the back. The offertory music we have today is written and performed by Judy Hume, and the offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you.
So I want to tell you a little about this song. I wrote this about a year ago, and when Michelle asked me to perform something, I thought, well, I know I have something I can use, and I probably can adjust it to meet the theme. And so that's what I did. And I would like your help in the refrain, and it says, "Save our little home" is the refrain. You'll catch on. protect this bird. Her wings are broken from your hurting words and things unspoken. At the same, with marginal communities, addressing inequality, just there's a little rest. That was what I changed, so that was my sorry. Just today, I'm speaking for the dead. Not much to say, I just want to stay in bed. The mirror has no answers, just a hurricane of dancers swirling in my head. Ooh, save our little home. Ooh, save our little home. We'll do that again. Ooh, save our little home. This echoing, I feel so alone. Like an arsenic rain that'll turn you into stone. We're focused on the dollar sign. My health is where I draw the line. Just need some rest. Ooh, save our little home. Ooh, save our little home. The uncertainty, it rattles in my bones. Nothing clever to say, just a feeling that I've known. Marginal communities, addressing inequality, deserves a little rest. Ooh, save our little home. Save our little home. I feel some peace living with the wild. That's y'all. I feel relief even though I feel so tired. Now my hands are free from the wires made of me and the madness in my chest. Save our little home. Ooh, save our little home. Ooh, save our little home. Thank y'all.
One of the places of contact I think all people share, despite your partisan leanings, is an appreciation for the beauty of the earth. We're going to sing about that this morning. The last closing hymn is For the Beauty of the Earth. It's number 21 in the gray hymnal. If you need to use that, we're going to have the words projected. And you'll see some pictures today of flowers. This is a reminder that our Habitat team here helps stimulate the beauty of the earth here on our church campus through their work, and we can appreciate their handiwork here. Let's stand as we can and sing this together.
As we prepare to return to the world, we remind ourselves through our affirmation to carry our work from this place to every other corner of our lives. The author of this affirmation is Florence Emmons from the UU Church of Meridian in Connecticut. She wrote this for an adult religious education class at the church in the 1970s. Since then, this text has been used wildly. Wildly, but widely too. All believe in healing and, hold on. Please join me in the responsive affirmation. So this works a little bit differently than we usually do. So instead of a call and response, it's a response and call. So you guys start first, and then I speak. We believe in the healing and restorative power of nature, without which all living things would be in great jeopardy. We believe in the profound lessons which nature teaches. Lessons of struggle and adaptability, tenacity and purpose, endurance and growth, patience, balance, and the inevitability of cause and effect. Such certainties as light after dark, warmth after cold, peaceful calm after lashing storm, and always the miracle of the sun, the rain, and the seed. Earth, sorry, again, I'm not celebrating yet. Okay, so please join me in a responsive chalice extinguishing from our gray hymnal, reading number 551, as written by the Ute Indians of North America. Earth, teach me stillness as the grasses are stilled with light. Earth, teach me suffering as old stones suffer with memory. Earth, teach me caring as parents who secure their young. Earth, teach me courage as the tree which stands all alone. Earth, teach me limitation as the ant which crawls on the ground. Earth, teach me freedom as the eagle who soars in the sky. Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall. Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring. Earth, teach me to forget myself as melted snow forgets its life. Earth, teach me to remember kindness as dry fields meet with rain. I did that earlier.
You did do that. Thanks, Chuck. We're going to take this moment right now to go over some announcements, and I'd like to invite Walt Holt to come forward. Zach, do you mind coming up? And we'll do that as well. Let me see what's submitted here. New members. If you are not getting our magazine, The UU World, do know that we have extra copies on the back table for you to take out at any time. And those that you do receive the magazine, if you can bring them in when you're finished so that we can share that with others, that would be great. You know that our social justice team has been engaged for years with Move the Confederate Monument from our county courthouse area. So Williamson County will be vacating that courthouse, moving into a new location by the end of this year. Currently, we are encouraging folks like you to send businesses a postcard expressing your concern about that statue and that you would like to see it moved. Our hope is that as we let our local businesses on the square know how we feel, that maybe we can help have them join forces with us. So those postcards, I believe, are at the back table. So Zach, you want to come up? Originally, we had a program planned for after service today, and I'd like to introduce you to Zach Hunter.
Hi, y'all. I'm Zach. Thank you so much to everybody who signed up to participate in our volunteer event today after service. With the weather, unfortunately, we are going to reschedule. That date is still to be determined, but I'll reach out to all of our participants via email with an update on when we're going to be helping out over there at the Roots That Bind Us.
Okay, thanks, Zach. And where's Walt? Walt, you want to come up, hon? So you know the Red Poppy Parade's coming, right? Did anybody happen to notice like a giant yellow shirt, the biggest shirt ever?
Hello, I'm Walt. Yeah, what's coming up real soon is our parade. So this Friday, the 25th, we're going to put the final touches on that float out there. So we're going to be putting on the red cardinal, red poppies on the float itself. And so that's going to be from 9 o'clock to noon. So looking for volunteers. And then Saturday, the big event, the 26th, we are going to go down to Georgetown. We're going to meet down in Georgetown, and we're going to be one of the last floats on the parade. We'll be number 43. Just so you don't get lost, I have a map, and along with the map, instructions of where to go. We also have a few extra yellow shirts. So if you don't have a yellow shirt, don't worry, we're gonna have that. If you can bring a little plastic bag with you, so we have these little envelopes. If you remember last Sunday, we stuffed a lot of seeds in these envelopes, and we're gonna hand those out to everybody during the parade. The idea of this whole thing is to see if we can get some more members into the church to become more aware of who we are. I keep thinking this church is like a stealth church, unknown. And I think we can, we're gonna see several thousand people out there, and this gives us a great opportunity to make our presence known. So at the end of the service, I'll be back there to hand these out. Any questions? Yes.
Is there a time that we can meet here to carpool over to the event?
Repeat that question. Repeat the question.
Okay, the question is, can we meet over here to carpool? And Amber, who has experience in this, suggests that we actually go down by the, not too far from the square, and park, and there's a drop-off point, and that's all explained here. Any other questions? Oh, and one more thing. I do have my cell number on here, so you can text me. I'm not sure if I'm going to hear the phone ringing with all the noise and activities.
We'll listen for you.
Yes.
How about that? Will that information be in the messenger? Will this information be in the messenger, or is there a way you can attach it? We'll talk about that afterwards. That's a good idea, Mimi. Yeah. Okay. We can scan it and attach it in the messenger, okay? We'll scan it. I think that's it for announcements. Anything else? Who are you pointing to? What time does the parade start? 10 o'clock.
But the judging happens at 9.
We're going to be judged? Whoa. Oh, Stephanie Blank's driving the judge. Anybody want to give her a few extra seed packets? Hey, I know we kept you a little bit longer today. Thank you for your patience. Let us close with this benediction, and then you're going to see a beautiful video of one of our most popular songs, Blue Boat Home. I know you all had that last week, but you didn't have the video. So here we go. This is taken from the Bible, Isaiah 55, and it is in the back of our hymnals. For you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. May it be so. Enjoy the video.
I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, all my now, Lord, have I known the wide why'd you try? Oh, Sarah, star leaning over the wonder, casting questions into ship's companion. We pilgrim souls making our heavens in our boat. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. On the fire, harbor or port, wide the ocean I try.